Rachel Ziegler is making waves in London, and not just with her voice. In this video, we're breaking down 6 explosive elements of the drama surrounding Evita, the balcony phenomenon, the deadly heatwave, furious ticket holders, artistic vision, backstage tension, and most importantly, what comes next. Stay tuned, because things are about to get unpredictable. 1. The balcony phenomenon. Picture this. It's a sticky June evening in London. The kind of heat that clings to your skin and makes the streets shimmer. Oxford Circus is buzzing, not because of tourists or traffic, but because hundreds of people are staring up at the London Palladium, like something sacred is about to happen. And in a way, it is. Suddenly, a balcony door swings open. A figure steps forward. It's Rachel Ziegler, yes, the same Rachel who's faced more backlash and praise than most stars see in a lifetime. But tonight, she's not responding to critics or giving interviews. She's singing. And not just any song. She's performing Don't Cry for Me Argentina to the crowd gathered outside the theatre. Not to the people who paid over £250 a ticket. Not to the audience inside. But to the street. And that's when everything shifts. Because this isn't just a performance, it's a statement. A gamble. A lightning strike. Dressed in white and backed by swelling theatrical strings, the moment feels haunting. Beautiful. Defiant. But also, confusing. Because inside the historic theatre, the paying audience, dressed up, excited, ready, isn't seeing this moment live. They are watching it unfold on a giant screen. Think about that. You spend hundreds on front row seats, expecting magic, only to find the show's most iconic moment is being live streamed, while strangers on the street witness it live, for free. Not just any moment, the moment. The Evita moment. The one etched into pop culture by Madonna's film, Broadway's Legends, and Argentina's Soul. And now, it's unfolding outside. What the director called revolutionary, others were calling ridiculous. Was this a bold, radical attempt to democratize theatre, or a creative misfire that lit a fire they couldn't control? You could feel the tension rising before the final note even left her lips. Outside, the crowd applauded. Some cried. Some filmed. Some just stood there, stunned. But inside the theatre, that's where the temperature shifted fast. Whispers spread. Frowns deepened. And when Rachel vanished behind the curtain, the applause didn't follow. The audience wasn't clapping. They were confused, and a little betrayed. And this was just the beginning. Because what started as an artistic choice quickly escalated into a public health situation. Complaints began flooding social media. 2 people required medical attention. Angry fans demanded refunds. And behind the scenes, insiders started to whisper, not everything backstage was going as planned. So how did one balcony scene flip London's West End on its head? We're just getting started. 2. Heatwave havoc. What was meant to be a breathtaking theatrical moment turned into something far more dangerous. As word of Rachel Ziegler's balcony performance spread through London like wildfire, so did the crowds. Every evening, hundreds gathered outside the London Palladium, desperate for a glimpse of the now iconic scene, a moment rapidly becoming one of the most talked about in modern West End history. But there was one major problem: the weather. London was boiling, literally. The city was in the grip of a brutal heatwave. Temperatures soared past 90 degrees Fahrenheit 32 degrees Celsius, a rare and punishing high for usually mild-weathered London. And yet, fans stood shoulder to shoulder for hours, pressed against metal gates and barricades outside the London Palladium. No shade. No water stations. No crowd control. And no warning. Some had arrived as early as noon, hoping to claim a prime spot on the pavement. These weren't casual passers-by. They were die-hard fans, showing up with lawn chairs, handheld fans, umbrellas, anything they could bring. But no one was prepared for what actually happened. As evening fell, the sun didn't let up. The heat stayed brutal. Faces flushed red. Tempers flared. And then, people started to collapse. One woman fainted, her head hitting the concrete as others rushed to help. A young man was carried away by medics, barely conscious. Inside the theatre, 2 audience members also required medical attention. Emergency services were called. Traffic slowed. Panic crept in. What began as a bold piece of immersive theatre was rapidly turning into a real-life emergency. And yet, the show went on. Rachel Ziegler appeared on the balcony, radiant, calm, and pitch-perfect. She delivered her performance flawlessly. The crowd outside erupted in cheers. But inside, most of the audience had no idea what was happening just steps away. And then it got even more complicated. Because once the chaos made its way to social media, to headlines, and to angry Taika videos, public opinion split like lightning. Some praised the scene as bold, immersive, unforgettable. Others slammed it as tone-deaf, reckless, and dangerous. Because this balcony performance didn't just cross a line artistically, it crossed one physically. It blurred the boundary between theater and reality, between admiration and actual risk. And now, the production was facing a very different kind of pressure, not applause, but a growing wave of concern. Was this just a one-off health scare? Or a sign of something much deeper going wrong behind the curtain? Remember, this wasn't just about people fainting in the heat. This was becoming a crisis. And backstage, things weren't much cooler. There were whispers, missed rehearsals, rising tension, silent frustration, and one looming question hovering in the air like smoke. Could Rachel Ziegler really carry the weight of this entire production? Stay with me, because what came next wasn't just explosive, it was personal. 3. Ticket holder backlash. While the street outside was melting into a frenzy of heat, smartphones, and sirens, inside the London Palladium, things were heating up in a very different way. Picture this: you've paid over £250 for a premium seat to see Evita. You've dressed for the occasion. You arrived early, browsed the glossy program, and settled in with excitement. You're waiting for the moment, the emotional peak of the show. The spotlight scene. The one song that defines Evita, "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina." But then, something strange happens. The orchestra swells. The lights dim. And instead of Rachel stepping onto the stage, the entire audience is staring at a screen. A live stream. Not of the actors in front of them, but of Rachel Ziegler outside, on the balcony, singing to the street. You could almost feel the air shift. Shoulders stiffened. People glanced around in confusion. A few clapped, maybe out of habit. Others just sat there, stunned. Because suddenly, the theatregoers weren't part of the magic. They were watching it, through a screen. Just like the people scrolling Taika outside. And that's when the backlash exploded. In the days that followed, social media lit up, angry posts from paying audience members. Screenshots. Scathing Yelp reviews. One person called it a glorified simulcast. Another accused the production of outsourcing its best moment. The resentment was real and growing fast. One woman posted on Reddit, saying she had saved for months to afford those tickets, only to watch someone else get the best part of the show, for free. Another wrote, "I wish I had stood outside. At least they got the real experience." And that one hit hard. Because for all the symbolism, the buzz, and the artistic ambition, there was one thing the production never prepared for: the audience feeling left out. Imagine paying top dollar for a live theatrical experience, only to watch its most iconic moment projected like an afterthought. A screen, a live stream, a disconnect. And it wasn't just online critics who noticed. Whispers began to circulate within the theater industry itself. Seasoned reviewers and respected voices started asking tough, uncomfortable questions. Was this about artistic vision or viral spectacle? Was the production prioritizing press over patrons? And then, things got even murkier. Because behind the curtain, rumors were swirling. This wasn't the first time the cast and crew had raised concerns about the controversial balcony staging. In fact, some said tensions had been simmering long before Rachel ever stepped outside to sing. If those whispers were true, then the backlash from fans might be the least of the production's problems. Because next, we're going inside. Behind the scenes. Where the pressure's higher. Where creative ambition clashes with human limits. And where the cracks might already be showing. 4. Artistic intent versus outrage. Not every controversy is born out of scandal. Some come from passion. From creative fire. From the desire to break boundaries and rewrite the rules. For Jamie Lloyd, the director behind Evita's radical reimagining, this was exactly that. The balcony scene. It wasn't a stunt. It was a statement. A tribute. A historical mirror. After all, Eva Perón, Argentina's polarizing first lady, didn't give her iconic speech from a stage. She stood on a balcony. She addressed the people directly. Unfiltered. Raw. Unrehearsed. So in Lloyd's mind, why shouldn't Rachel Ziegler do the same? In interviews, Lloyd defended his vision. Theater should meet people where they are. It shouldn't hide behind velvet ropes or exclusive ticket prices. It should be alive, unpredictable, real. In this Evita, the city becomes the stage. The theater audience becomes witnesses, not just spectators. It was bold. It was immersive. It was revolutionary. But here's the truth: lofty vision doesn't always land the way it's intended. Because while some saw genius, others saw chaos. Some critics called it brilliant. Others called it a betrayal. Writers at The Guardian and The Stage praised the balcony performance as immersive, radical, even revolutionary. But not everyone was clapping. Some called it performative theater in the worst sense. Others accused the production of chasing Taika virality at the expense of live performance integrity. And many asked the hard question, did this so-called democratization of theater really include more people, or did it just alienate everyone? And then there was the Ziegler factor. Rachel Ziegler isn't just a stage actress. She's a Hollywood name, known for West Side Story, the controversial Snow White reboot, and a growing list of blockbuster roles. Her name alone generates headlines, but it also draws heat. Everything she does gets amplified, dissected, and, let's be real, sometimes weaponized. So when she steps onto that balcony, she's not just playing Eva Peron, she's becoming a lightning rod. For praise, for backlash, for everything in between. And this is where it gets complicated. Because while Jamie Lloyd may have imagined this moment as a symbol of connection between performer and people, what he got was a firestorm of division. Some fans stood in awe, others walked out. And Rachel, she was left balancing on the edge of public opinion, literally and figuratively. But here's the part they are not putting in the press releases. According to insiders, the creative team was already divided over the balcony idea before opening night. There were arguments, delays, frustrations behind the scenes. So when the heatwave hit, fans fainted, and ticket holders revolted online, it didn't just challenge the production's vision, it exposed the cracks in the foundation. Now, the real question isn't just, does the balcony work? It's, are the people behind it still standing together? And the next clue, it's hidden in what's happening behind the curtain, shifting rehearsal schedules, increased role coverage, and the growing suspicion that someone else might be stepping into the spotlight. 5. Behind-the-scenes tension, front and center. It's all unraveling. Flashbulbs. Fanfare. Rachel Ziegler, arms outstretched, standing on a historic London balcony, singing one of the most iconic ballads in musical theatre. It's a moment built for headlines, built for TikTok, built for legend. But just beyond the spotlight, beyond the velvet ropes and glowing press blurbs, is something far less polished, a growing sense of unease. A rising pressure you won't read about in the official playbill. Because while the audience debated whether the outdoor performance was genius or gimmick, the cast and crew backstage were facing a very different reality: burnout, frustration, and whispers that not everyone was on the same page. Let's start with the most obvious sign: alternate performances. Now, to be clear, it's not unusual for lead performers to take nights off. In professional theatre, alternates and covers are standard. But in this case, it's happening more frequently, and fans are noticing. Reddit threads have already started tracking Rachel's absences. She didn't go on tonight again. Anyone know why the alternate is listed for 3 shows this week? Alone, this wouldn't raise many eyebrows. But combined with backstage murmurs, it's beginning to look like something more. According to multiple circulating reports, yes, still anonymous, but growing in number, there have been internal disagreements over the sustainability of the balcony performance itself. Because let's be honest, performing Don't Cry for Me Argentina outdoors, in full voice, under sweltering heat, multiple times a week, it's not just risky for the audience, it's physically draining for the performer. And if you've seen the footage, you know, this isn't just a stand and sing moment. Rachel is channeling Eva Peron with full-body intensity, every note, every gesture, exposed to the elements. It's iconic. It's exhausting. And behind the curtain, the question is growing louder: how long can this go on? Every ounce of Eva's fire, every note charged with emotion, night after night. That kind of intensity, in unpredictable outdoor conditions, isn't just dramatic. It's physically and emotionally draining. Insiders say the weeks leading up to